So we are going to proceed with the presentations. The session that we are going to have now is a session 3. I just want to announce slight changes to the program, especially in terms of the facilitator. So the person who will facilitate our session this morning is going to be Richard Dewakwane from the University of Mpumalanga, UMP. So the session is going to be on the climate change action and just transition. So he will able to tell us who are those that are going to present. And then Richard, let me invite you to take over.
Good day, colleagues. Good morning, colleagues. How are you? Please pardon me for good day. Hey, we're used to writing emails now, so every time you respond to our academics, we just say good day because we don't want to miss the time of the day. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Itsiposetu Dibakwane. I'm an HSP fellow and associate lecturer at the University of Mpumalanga. And I'd like to thank the chair of the session for finding me worthy to be to chair, or not really to chair, but to coordinate this session. The first speaker who will be given about 15 minutes, it's Nhlanhla Hlongwa from the University of Cape Town, which is in South Africa, and she will be presenting. Okay, no, you will have to see the topic on his presentation slide, okay? So I'd like to call upon Ms. or Mr. Nhlanhla Hlongwa to please come and take the podium and conduct the presentation. And while he's coming to the podium, can you maybe please cheer him up just to hype him up a bit? Thank you so much. Mr. or Miss Nhlanhla Hlongwa, the podium is yours. Mr. Hlongwa, yes, the podium is yours. Yes, I used the two because I wasn't sure. Right. Mr. Nhlanhla Hlongwa, are you coming? Yeah, he's coming. Just step outside. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I hope everyone enjoyed the gala dinner yesterday. So my name is Nhlanhla Hlongwa. I'm a DSTI, NRF postdoctoral. My background is in analytical chemistry, and I specialize in water quality, security, and health. So today, my presentation is going to be on the just energy transition in South Africa. So the presentation actually explores the alignment of just energy transition with the Paris Agreement, the UN Sustainable Development Goal, as well as the Africa Union Agenda 2063, while also addressing the socio-economic as well as the energy security challenges while transitioning from coal to just energy transition. So let's start. So the South Africa strongly relies on coal, and 84% is actually 84% generates electricity through coal-fired power plants. This may ensure energy security, but however, it may result to environmental as well as economical vulnerability due to the fact that South Africa is listed as the 14th global emitter of greenhouse gas. So the just energy transition, it is a national strategy to transfer or transition from coal to just energy transition, actually renewable energy such as solar, wind, and green hydrogen. And with also a commitment of expanding this throughout Africa, but without forgetting or leaving behind coal-reliant or coal-dependent communities such as Mpumalanga. So the key initiatives of this transition are the renewable energy, independent power producer procurement program, as well as the just energy transition partnerships, and which involves a financial global contributors. So what is the key objective of the just energy transition? It's basically to seek or reduce South Africa's dependence on coal, while significantly expanding to renewable energy capacity. And currently, whereby it's using 84% coal is used. 80, from coal, 84% is generates energy, electricity of the country, of the energy mix, and is derived from coal. The coal is to accelerate investment in the solar as well as wind and green hydrogen infrastructure. The transition is expected to create over 62,000 coal jobs in the renewable sector. And there is a growing emphasis in the reskilling program for coal workers to ensure that economic stability is which is affected in communities whereby the coal workers which may have lost their jobs during this transition, it may actually able them to retrain them towards renewable energy careers. So the initiative aligns with a global climate commitment, as well as the Paris Agreement, as well, including the Sustainable Development Goal 7, which emphasize on the clean as well as affordable energy. So, in regards to methodology, the just energy transition research actually uses qualitative thematic analysis to evaluate the South Africa's just energy transition. The data source that we used were national policies, government reports, the Arab, as well as the just transition thematics. In regards to analysis, thematic evaluations of renewable energy expansion, socio-economic impacts, and regulatory challenges. In regards to a comparative approach, South Africa just energy transition assessed in comparison to India as well as Indonesia, with a focus on a global south disparities. So in regards to key findings, South Africa renewable energy is steadily expanding, whereby even though it's steadily expanding, though there are challenges that persist, whereby CSIR has listed that the solar energy capacity currently stands at 6,100 megawatts, while wind power contributes to 3,300 megawatts. The Just Energy Transition Partnership has committed to $8.5 billion. And with this investment, with this transition, though delays in the funding's disbursement have slowed the progress. So case studies highlight the transition impacts, whereby the Uppington Solar Park a $200 million rand investment created 1,200 jobs during the construction phase. So, demonstrating a potential for employment and opportunities in the renewable energy. However, the Komatu, which is based in Mpumalanga, power station closure led to 300 jobs, highlighting the need for targeted reskilling program. In response, a $2 million initiative was implemented to support the transition of displaced workers into the renewable energy sector. So it's not changing. Okay. Okay. So in regards to challenges in energy transition, so despite the progress, several significant obstacles hinder the just energy transition. So between 90,000 to 120,000 coal jobs remain at risk, making the social dimension of the transition particularly complex. Regulatory bottlenecks have led to a delay extending to 12 months in the renewable project approval, stalling energy expansion efforts. And additionally, modernizing South Africa energy grid is essential to integrating a renewable at scale, requiring an estimate of 10 billion investment. And other major challenge that slows disinvestment of these funds, with only 1.6 billion allocated by late 2023. Delays much needed infrastructure development and employment initiatives. So in regards to international collaboration as well as the Just Energy Transition Partnership, the Just Energy Transition Partnership launched at the COP26, which represents the multilateral commitments of the $8.5 billion which I've mentioned before, to accelerate South Africa's shift from coal to renewable. So the partners included in this financial contribution are France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the United States, as well as the European Union. So the finding is intended to support renewable energy expansion, grid modernization, reskilling program for coal workers. One of the key examples of the JET impact is the role of financing large-scale solar projects such as the Uppington Solar Park. However, delays in funding allocated primarily due to bureaucratic inefficiencies have raised concerns about ensuring equitability access to a financial resource for coal-dependent communities. So in regards to growth and renewable energy, South Africa renewable energy capacity is growing, but more investment is required to meet a long-term sustainable goal, whereby current installed capacity includes 6,100 megawatts in solar, 3,300 megawatts of wind power. By 2030, the country aims to achieve 20 to 22 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. Green hydrogen is also emerging as a transformative energy source, where in comparison, other developing countries have also set ambitious renewable energy goals, such as India, which is committed to reaching 50% renewables by 2030, and Indonesia plans to phase out coal by 2060 with the help of international funding. So in regards to socio-economic impact, the just energy transition has broader socio-economic implications, particularly in employment distributions. While 62,000 jobs have been created in the renewable sector, they are unevenly distributed. Leaving some of the coal-dependent regions vulnerable. The closure of the Komatu power station amplifies these challenges. 300 workers lost their jobs in response. In response, 20 million reskilling program was introduced to help affected workers transition to renewable energy. And however, further expansion of such initiative is necessary to ensure a just energy. It is estimated that at least 50,000 coal workers need to be reskilled by 2030 to mitigate regional economic disparities. So in regards to a policy recommendation, to achieve a just and effective policy transition, South Africa must implement several key policy measures. Streamlining regulatory approval is essential, and reducing delay could unlock an estimate of $2 billion in additional investments. A $10 billion investment in the grid modernization and energy storage is also crucial for supporting large-scale renewable energy integration. Scaling up reskilling programs should remain a priority, with the goal of training at least 50,000 displaced coal workers within the southern. So, enhancing cross-border energy collaborations with the SADC nations could also further strengthen the regional energy security, and additionally improve stakeholder engagement and transparent governance in the Just Energy Transition Partnership. Funding allocations will be necessary to accelerate this program. So in regards to a future outlook in terms of South Africa energy mix. So by 2030, South Africa aims to transition to predominantly renewable energy. The country targets 20 to 22 gigawatts of solar and wind capacity, while green hydrogen is expected to contribute 5 gigawatts. Battery storage is projected to increase to 6 gigawatts to ensure energy stability. And one of the most significant projects supporting this vision is the Redstone Solar Thermal Power Plant, a 1.2 gigawatts facility which is set to be operational by this year. So this plant will provide a 12-hour energy storage capacity, enhancing grid reliability and demonstrating the availability of large-scale renewable energy solution. And in conclusion, South Africa's just energy transition is progressing, but critical challenges must still be addressed. The success of this transition depends on the balancing of economic growth, social equity, sustainability. Effective policy implementation accelerates reskilling programs, and infrastructure investment will be key to ensuring an inclusive energy transition. South Africa has a potential to lead Africa and shift it towards a low-carbon economy, but with strong stakeholder collaboration and policy execution will be essential. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I think I see myself also maybe starting to reskill myself for this industry, because there's a lot of money. It seems like this government and other big corporations are still willing to put some money. So colleagues, I appeal that if you still have the time to reskill yourself, this is where the money lies. But thank you so much for also indicating that in as much as the government and other global players are suggesting a shift towards greener energy initiatives, that it's not only just about pushing people, just transitioning, but there are also mechanisms that have been put in place to ensure that those that are at risk of losing their employment in that space will also be reskilled and also have relevance in that economy that will be prevalent at that particular time. Because the misconception is that government is just phasing out coal and there's no operational plan. But thank you so much for indicating to us that there is indeed a plan to ensure that those people who will be affected by this just energy transition, they will also have some reskilling and also still have some form of employment opportunity as we head towards that direction. And next, yeah, this one is very interesting. I always, whenever I meet people from this organization, I say we need money. So up next, I wanna call Anastasia Nokomuloto from the National Research Foundation. So academics who are engaged in research, please, if we're listening at 100%, now we can take it to 10,000% so that we know where we'll be able to get the research funding. Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nuko. Just before I proceed, I want to give a disclaimer. Please, I do not sit in the funding committee. So questions like, what are the criteria? What are the elements that the panels look for? I do not know. Why your research were not funded, I do not know. What I'm going to give you, it is just the statistics of the climate-related projects that the NRF has funded so far. So as they say that they are supporting early career researchers, we want to understand how many career researchers were funded. If you make your application was not approved, it was not me. So my presentation is going to be about the role that NRF is playing in terms of supporting climate change research project in South Africa. We all know that not only in South Africa, but Africa as a whole, we are facing a challenge of climate change. So National Research Foundation also sit as one of those who want to contribute to the strategies in terms of mitigating or providing solutions to the climate-related challenges. So the NRF was founded in 1991. So their aim is to fund research projects not only in climate change, but also across other disciplines. So this one, it is only going to be under climate change. So the research gap that we want to understand here is, while the NRF contribute to climate change funding, there is a limited research on the number of climate change projects that the NRF has funded so far. So it doesn't look at the age, but it just to give an overall amount or overall count of the projects that were funded, as well as the values of those projects. So some they may carry over to the next 3 years, but we are not going to check on how we're carried over. I mean, how many were carried over. So the module that was used here, it was resource-based review. Because this one, we would want the model focused on how the National Research Foundation utilize their resources to build capacity that will drive competitive advantage to build on this case or to contribute to climate change mitigation. Now, the study focus area. So the data of this study was from the National Research Foundation database. So on that database, we looked at climate-related projects. We also looked the data from 2018 to 2023. We looked at the value of the projects that were funded. We looked at the institutions. We looked at the numbers of the projects that were funded. So the data was quantitatively analyzed. So those are the metrics that I just read were the ones that we used to analyze the data. So between 2018 and 2023, there were about 252 projects that were funded. So these are the different age groups under these projects that were funded. So there was no discrimination in terms of we are not funding this group, we are funding this group. So these were the overall people that were funded. Surely you can see, thank you. So surely you can see we as Africans, where we are sitting. Then from here, we would start to ask yourselves, are we really contributing enough as compared to the other groups? But we will not dwell into that today. So these are a number of institutions that those 252 projects that were funded, most of them came from these institutions. If your institution is not here, I think you should do better. Remember, I said it is not me who don't fund your projects, but I believe there are elements that they look for before they approve. So these are the programs that they funded. So under this program, there might be a project that was related to climate change, and then they funded that program, because one can ask why indigenous knowledge. So meaning under the indigenous knowledge, there was a project that related to climate change, hence it was funded, and that's why it appears in these programs or in this list. So these are the values from 2018, what were the total value of the project of all those 253, of 53 projects were funded in 2018, and this was the value. In 2019, the list went up, 60 projects were funded, and this was the value. So in 2020, the list went down, 54, and that was the value. In 2021, 45, and in 2022, 26, while in 2023, 14 projects were funded. So yes, INRF, it does contribute in terms of building or supporting the early career researchers. But however, I do believe that they can do more. Some of the most disadvantaged or some of the disadvantaged institutions are not appearing in those lists. Hence, they can put much effort in terms of educating them on some of the projects or do institutional visit on some of the projects that they do fund, and also understand what are the programs that these institutions are offering so that the NRF can also play a role in terms of bringing them in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Yeah, Ish, it means I should also maybe start working on a proposal on climate change. Colleagues, those who want to collaborate, we can start putting a proposal together. But thank you so much for highlighting the role of the NRF in funding projects that have to deal with climate change. It really goes to show that as climate change is a topical issue, is a topical, you know, a conversation around the globe, including in Africa and in South Africa. Indeed, the National Research Foundation is also willing and is also committed to be part of the body or to be part of the actors that are playing an active role in ensuring that they do provide a form of a research basis, theoretical basis, and practical solutions as to how we can solve that problem. And I think for that, the NRF deserves to also be thanked. Our next speaker is Akwesi Aqua. I'm sure if I'm pronouncing it well. It's Akwesi Aqua. The stage is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. I'm Akwesi Aqua. I'm from Ghana, but I am a PhD student at the University of Johannesburg. So I'm essentially Ghanaian by birth, but South African at heart. And I know you are probably expecting to hear something on climate change, but unfortunately, I'm here to, or fortunately, I'm here to present something on e-health. But the good thing is that it's policy. So it doesn't really matter whether it's in health or whether it's in climate change. And at the end of the day, this study would provide methodologies that are so robust that it could be applied to any field or any sector. So the title of mine research is Assessing the Policy Landscape of E-Health in Africa. And it's a comparative study of 3 countries in Africa, which is Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa. And this is actually the first research objective of my PhD. And you would hear me using we a lot because I would like to acknowledge the support of my supervisor, Prof. Neil Sanders as well. So you would hear me using we a lot of times. And also, if you hear me talking about e-health and digital health policy, I would use them interchangeably, but it means the same thing, so don't be worried about that. So I would like to start my presentation with a little bit of history. So in 1948, the United Nations General Assembly affirmed a set of 30 articles known as the Universal Declaration for Human Rights. And although these set of 30 articles are not legally binding on member states, they promise to all a life free of fear and free of want. Now, the Universal Declaration for Human Rights ushered in an era of unprecedented global aspirations, with many regional and international documents being developed to promote the economic, social, and cultural rights of human beings everywhere. So it is not therefore surprising that you find out that the European Commission, the Association of Southeastern Asian countries, and as well as the Pacific Islands all have documents that try to promote the fundamental human rights of people on these continents. So in our region, Africa, the African Union seeks to be able to promote these rights with a 50-year master plan known as the Agenda 2063. Now, what is the Agenda 2063? The Agenda 2063, as I've already said, is a 50-year master plan that emphasizes the use of ICT and regional integration to be able to achieve the development goals of Africa. And having said that, there is a policy framework that goes with the Agenda 2063. This policy framework is what spells out how it can be practically operationalized. And the policy framework is very quick to point out that even though we want to leverage on ICT to propel Africa's development, we really have to develop very robust ICT policies in all sectors of a country's economy, in terms of defense, in terms of communication, in terms of transport, in terms of health. We need very robust ICT policies to be able to fully reap the benefits of the Agenda 2063. So I'll take one example. In the health sector, there are so many countries in Africa now developing digital health policies. And with the last count of voter 2020, which was in March of 2020, there were 42 African countries with digital health policies. So what really is the problem? If there are so many digital health policies across Africa, what really is the problem? Well, the problem emanated from the literature review of my PhD, where I identified that even though there are so many digital health policies across Africa, there is still a gap, a literature gap, when you want to find studies that compares the digital health policies of different countries. So as a result of that, we decided to conduct a study in relation to this. And we realized that, we realized that this problem was not only peculiar to my case. We found out that Kickbush, who in 2019 also alluded to this fact that comparative studies of digital health policies in Africa is very, very difficult to find and very scarce. Now, why is this a problem? This is the why question. It is a problem because African Union's Agenda 2063 seeks to achieve a joint learning agenda, which means we are expecting countries, African countries, to be able to learn from others because our contexts are the same and we have similar problems as a continent. So it is better for one African country to adopt or learn the best international practices or best practices of another African country than to situate that in a more foreign context when it comes to these policies. So if this is not addressed, we would end up not having studies comparing African countries to each other, and we might have problems being able to determine what the best practices for Africans are. So with that said, we conducted a study, and it's a simple comparative study of 3 geographically disparate countries. It had to be geographically disparate because we didn't want them to come from the same area, the same economic block. So we made sure it was geographically disparate. So if you look at this map, you find out that there's a country from West Africa, there's a country from Eastern Africa, and there's a country from Southern Africa as well. So how did we go about this study? As I said earlier on, it was as a result of literature that was reviewed, and the literature was reviewed as we would do in every research. You do that based on your key concepts, which in my case was electronic health, mobile health, the African Union, digital health policies. You read around those things. And fortunately for us, we stumbled across a document by the World Health Organization and the International Telecommunications Union that seeks to provide guidelines to countries seeking to develop digital health policies. So this particular document was very instrumental in our work because it's provided a fair basis for us to be able to compare the digital health policies of various countries with a common benchmark. Now, I know the professors and the doctors and the other people in this room would be wanting to question me about how robust your methodologies were and what methods did you use. So I just ran through the methods that were used for this study. So it's a qualitative study. It's actually a DEX review. So we essentially used secondary data. And we had to purposely sample for reasons of me telling you that we wanted the countries to be geographically disparate and not be from one particular economic block. And in terms of data collection, we use Prisma, which is a systematic review. And that makes it possible for you to be able to identify documents and use them in your research in a very scientific way. And in terms of data analysis, this was a document analysis. A document analysis was chosen in place of a content analysis because we wanted to be able to understand the underlying themes that are evident in these digital health policies. Now, in terms of ethical considerations, I know this is also important because people would be wanting to ask what were the ethical considerations of your research. So in terms of ethical considerations, as I alluded earlier on, this is a secondary, we use secondary data in this research. However, even though human beings are not involved and we didn't have to seek ethical clearance, we had to make sure that the methodology used in this research is so robust to the extent that it can be transferred from one setting to the other and from one field to the other. So transferability and dependability were the ethical considerations of this study. So this is just a diagram depicting the PRISMA, operationalization of the PRISMA, which even though it was just about looking for documents, there has to be a scientific element to it because you don't just select documents for document analysis. You might end up selecting a document that is probably not current, a document that has not been approved by the national government, or a document that is outdated. So in conducting a very good document review, you really need to have inclusion and exclusion criteria, and that was what was evident here, and it was operationalized, and at the end of the day, we were able to come up with the digital health policies of the country. So in terms of results, the countries, as I've mentioned earlier on, were Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa, and we ended up identifying the digital health policies of these countries, and you'd realize that their names are different. Every country has a different name and how they call their digital health policy. And in terms of type, some refer to it as strategy, some refer to it as policy. It's just a matter of semantics. It really doesn't change much. And all of these documents also have years and timelines attached to them. So as I alluded earlier on, we use the World Health Organization and the ITU guideline because we needed a middle ground to be able to compare all these three countries. And with a little bit of context, this particular document spells out how countries should go about the formulation of digital health policies. And it states that every country, it gives 3 broad guidelines to every country seeking to come up with a digital health policy. And it says that every country coming up with a digital health policy should have an e-health vision. And secondly, all the countries should have national action plans. And thirdly, all of them should have monitoring and evaluation mechanisms inherent in their e-health policies. So therefore, if we just take maybe one example of the monitoring and evaluation criteria of the 3 countries analyzed, you'd realize that in the case of Ghana, they prioritize annual and periodic reviews. And in the case of Kenya, they rather use periodic surveys, and at the end of the day, they do these reviews of digital health interventions in their country every 3 years. When it comes to the South African case, they do not ascribe certain specific timelines to the evaluation of digital health interventions in their country. But what they do is that they tie it to outcomes. So it is the outcome of the digital health intervention that would determine when the evaluation should be done for it. So by way of discussion, the study came up with very notable similarities and differences. And you would realize that with all the 3 countries that were analyzed, you realize that there's a common theme that runs through. They prioritize stakeholder involvement, but as to whether they prioritize it at an important stage or not is another question that has to be addressed. And in terms of using ICT to be able to reach underserved and rural communities, you realize that it's a common theme in all these countries. And there is a very striking difference when it comes to the digital health policies of these 3 countries that are analyzed. You'd find out that their national e-health visions differ. I mean, because that is a recommendation from the WHO and the ITU. So in terms of recommendations, I'm happy to give specific recommendations to everyone in this room. I know we have people coming from Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana. So beginning with myself, I think that when I go back, I have to tell my country that their digital health policy is dated 2010, and it's very outdated and doesn't meet the demands of the time. So it really needs a comprehensive review. With Kenya, Kenya has the most comprehensive digital health policy documents that you'd find on the African continent. But the problem is that it lacks a very comprehensive risk mitigation criteria. So you'd realize that the risk mitigation framework is not very comprehensive when it comes to Kenya. So that's one thing the Kenyan government and Ministry of Health would have to address. When it comes to South Africa, you'd realize that in terms of monitoring and evaluation, their monitoring and evaluation framework is not very comprehensive as compared to the other two countries analyzed. So these are international best practices, but what stands out is that the study shows that Africa needs a continental e-health policy so that we don't have to benchmark the African countries against that of the World Trade Organization and the International Telecommunications Union. So to conclude, there is further research, because as I alluded at the beginning of my study, I mean, this is the framework proposes that all African countries should have very robust ICT policies, and it should be in all sectors. Unfortunately, I did for only health. So it means that there is an opportunity for us and others here in other fields to be able to take the national policies in terms of ICT and other things and be able to assess it in terms of comprehensive analysis against other African countries. And my study covered only 3 countries because, as you know, every research is limited by time and resources, and I have to finish my PhD, so I was only able to analyze 3 countries. So this is an area that people can look at. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful presentation. I guess maybe by this time I'll have to go. If there's a certification board, I say, no, I'm now an expert in policy because of this conference. But thank you so much. Touching on issues about e-health, hey, that's not even my vicinity. But thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. And next we've got our 4th speaker for the session, which is Mami Nusia Albertine from the Université de Antananarivo, Madagascar. Please, ma'am, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. The title of my paper is Yes, thank you. Climate change mitigation and adaptation in Africa, popularizing knowledge for justice and inclusive energy transition policies, case of Madagascar and some countries in Africa. So I need I need the microphone mobile to the microphone.
Mobile microphone.
Please. Allow me to go directly to the essential point of my presentation to save time. Why this subject? The world is lagging behind achieving the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda. In particular, the agenda which call for urgent action to combat climate change and its effects, including Goal 13 on urgent action to strengthen adaptation, climate-related hazards and disasters are not being attempted. So the general thematic of the conference is enabling Africa's inclusive and sustainable development, challenge and opportunities. Let's take the two keywords of this thematic, such as inclusive and sustainable. In this paper, what does inclusive and sustainable mean? So there are two areas of study which have each perspective of inclusive. For example, in economy, in social, and in environment. Let's take the meaning of the concept of inclusion in economic perspective. It is about when people not only have their basic subsistence needs met, but also are productive, fulfilled, and fully empowered to make choices about their lives. In social perception of inclusion, it is the process of improving the terms of which individuals and groups take part in society, improving the ability, opportunity, and dignity of those disadvantaged of the basis of their identity. So the last one is the environmental perspective of inclusion or inclusive. So everyone should be able to play their part in positive action for environmental sustainability. This might be through access, the ability to reuse and recycle, energy saving and home improvement initiatives, reduce food mail, and protect natural habitats. So beyond the two perceptions of inclusive or inclusion or sustainability, what are some other points to be considered? Let's take knowledge. By knowledge, we mean human understanding of subject matter that has been acquired through proper study and experience. Knowledge is usually based on learning, thinking, and proper understanding of the problem area. Knowledge is not information, and information is not data. So the other point is how to popularize knowledge. That is the key point of this paper. So we have 4 elements to this question. First, open science and open data, local knowledge, the colonization of language, and multidisciplinarity. So how about open science? Open science is about first, access, source, data, labs, hardware, educational, infrastructure, and evaluation. So those are the example of to illustrate the local knowledge or the traditional knowledge. For example, domain craft, bombs, and some traditional art. So to explain how to popularize knowledge, let's watch a part of video. It's about 8 minutes to highlight the role plays knowledge in inclusion development. So let's watch the video, please. So it's a short video who happens in Kenya. It's about the rainmakers to highlight the role played by traditional and local knowledge. Enjoy.
Nini imefanya namna hii? Unajua iko au mvua itakuja baadaye.
The whole of this region, they know that rainmakers of Ghana, because whatever they say always come to pass. They prove it.
We had the story about this Ganyi community that is capable of making rain, and we wanted to know to the extent they can actually make the rain and how they had been coping with adverse climatic conditions.
The key problem has been that we have been giving weather forecasts and seasonal forecasts to try and help people adapt to climate extremes. These guys do not believe in what we say or what we do. So initially we were thinking of just using them as communicators. But then we asked ourselves, are they really forecasters? Are they really meteorologists in some kind of way?
Tuko na njia zingine tofauti za kupima hali ya anga. Kama vile tunatumia ndege aina kadhaa. Hasa hiyo nyumesikia ikiimba hiyo. Na kuna aina ya ants, termites pia tunasitumia. Na kuna muti, it is evergreen, yani hiyo ikipindua matawi yake, ikiangalia direction hiyo, jua mvua iko karibu, imebaki masaa fulani mvua ianze kunyesha.
The plants have some hormones in them that respond to atmospheric humidity, and then different species will behave differently.
The reaction of the animals, the reaction of the plants to atmospheric conditions is so sensitive that they capture it even before our instruments capture it.
Fit Me Madame Poreless Foundation reduces oil so you can keep it hot. Maybelline, New York.
PMD offers third-party car insurance that you can trust from as little as 167 Rand per month.
What they are actually using is alternative science. Although they are doing it in a mystical way, when somebody sees it and you see these guys are simply blowing bubbles, this is actually equivalent to a hygrometer or the humidity instrument that we use in the meteorological services.
So they started seeing that it is not rain-making on their part, but it is extreme good observation skills.
Our fellow scientists really thought we were jokers. What good can come out of this?
I was skeptical about it because when you hear traditional forecasting, what immediately comes into your mind is they are using witchcraft. But I became converted when I started interacting with them closely.
These old men we are talking about also think that these eminent scientists are a big joke. It's both ways.
Lakini sasa hii hawa wanasayansi hawa wanatumia makompyuta na machine kadhalika. Lakini sasa hapa kwetu tunatumia ujasiri yetu.
You know, science wants a replication, validation to be able to say that I saw this, statistics. This other knowledge has a bit of spiritualism in it. They feel It's not what they can quantify. So it becomes very difficult to bring the two knowledge bases together.
We can also come here and we, through this pot, when we apply the herbs, the rain will rain.
They could sit in their shrines and pray to their ancestors, and sure enough, the rain could fall. You can just observe, but you cannot explain fully well how that happened.
So I know they have the art of controlling. They did it, we also.
In terms of the traditional forecasters being able to control the weather, like sending away rain, that I must say I'm still a skeptic.
Mimi najiona kama mwana sayansi kwa maana nilizaliwa, babu walizaa wakampa baba naye akasaa sisi. Sio kitu kama iko kwa damu hata uwezi kutembea, lakini sisi najua sayansi hii ya mvua sisi mimi iko nayo na watu wangu hao.
They know what you cannot get in books, and we need to have this documented.
They are very secretive. Even within their own communities, it has been within that secluded few. And at some point, they would give information and tell you, this one you keep secret.
We cannot tell what types of roots do we use. That is our secret. Huh? Our IK knowledge you can't expose, because our ancestors can fight us.
For an academician, it's hard because you'd like to pass the information to others to learn from.
The people that are holding the information, they are not passing it over to other generations.
The knowledge gets eroded with time. So it's important this knowledge gets public enough so that modern meteorological science can kind of work together with the traditional science.
You don't go there with solutions, but we go there and develop solutions together.
We came as learners. And so the community also thought, oh, so we also have something to educate professors on.
Climate change has had a more profound impact on the traditional methods of forecasting because these depend on the natural environment.
Climate change will change those behaviors. At that point, the traditional forecasting methodology will not work.
For us, we are looking at measurements, and through time, we've been able to incorporate the changes in climate.
So then, we are saying if they now believe in us and our message is going through together, so they would still be covered. So you bring your forecast from Kenya Meteorological Service, you bring your forecast from these different old men who are forecasting, independently developed, and compare them. And therefore now we ended up having a consensus forecast.
Tayari mzee alikuwa ametangulia kuja hapa mapema sana kutoa forecast ile tumepeana pale kwa radio asubuhi.
I think we have demystified the barrier between the scientists and the local communities.
The people who really want to do this must believe that there is substance in it. Getting involved with the community opens up your eyes. So you stop doing science for the sake of science, but looking at it as a helping tool to change lives. I believe that's what science is supposed to do.
Okay, time is up. In terms of conclusion, I would say that in terms of climate change, adaptation and mitigation, sustainable and inclusive development, knowledge is very important, not only scientific knowledge, but also traditional and local knowledge. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Doc, for the presentation. And to all the presenters, thank you for your presentations. They were really eye-opening and they were also thought-provoking. So we'll have a Q&A session now. For those of us who are interested in asking questions about various questions that would have risen from the speakers or the presenters for today, I'd like to invite all the presenters for today, for this session, to come and join us on stage. Okay, I think this one will work better. So, colleagues, I'd like to maybe take about I'd like to request all the presenters to come join us on stage. Because we're a little behind on time, I'd just like to take about, let's say 5 questions. Yes, I'd like to just take about 5 questions. So if you have a question, you may show by raising your hand. Okay, 1. And then anyone else? Okay, sir at the back, 2, 3. And then any other person? 4. Then the last one, 5. Okay, can you start with you, sir?
Thank you, Chair. If there's another young person who wants to ask, I'm willing to forego my question. But thanks so much for the presentations. I think they were all quite interesting and exciting to hear. I think the first presentation on the just energy transition, I am interested in understanding your understanding of when they say just energy transition, what makes it just? So that we can begin to understand what is happening in South Africa in the context of what is your conceptual understanding of just? Because I just wanted to have your take on that one. On the NRF presentation, I know you had a number of disclaimers. It would be interesting to see in what areas of climate change people are, submitting proposals, because it will then give people a sense of which areas are being covered and which are not. I don't know whether the data can allow you to do that. And then my last one is on the e-health, the digital one. You said for South Africa they do not have comprehensive M&E, but I think the point you were also saying is that they don't have a timing for evaluation. You said outcomes will determine when evaluation takes place. What do you mean by that? Thank you.
Okay, I think let's take all the questions, then the panelists will respond thereafter.
Okay, my question also goes to Ekwesu in terms of the e-health strategies that he did a comparison in Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana. Now, looking at the risk frameworks that you indicated that Kenya has not adopted a robust risk framework, I'm just trying to understand from the analysis of all the 3 e-health strategies, which one had e-health strategy that is better than the other, and why did you single out Kenya as not having a robust e-health strategy? Because I'm aware there is a e-health risk framework that absorbs and talks about the data protection issues in terms of managing health data of the patients and how this can be shared and managed as a form of risk mitigation strategy. So I just wanted to understand the clarity in terms of how you conducted your review to find out that. Thanks.
Then okay, sir at the back.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you for the presentations. Quite interesting and thought-provoking. I have just some queries from the e-health presentation. Very interesting. Navigating you are analyzing the policy landscape. My issue comes to the methodology. Number one, what you said about the geographical locations of the study areas, you talked much of just the different geographical spaces, but I believe it has to go beyond that. What issues? Is it because of the advancement in technology of those particular countries in terms of ICT or AI? So it has to be something beyond. Maybe for purposes of presenting, you just shorted it. I would love to hear what were the reasons beyond the geographical differences that made you to look at that. Then secondly, you talked about the PRISMA, the systematic review, the preferred items of systematic reviews and meta-analysis methodology. Does it really apply here? Because you then have to look at the search strategy, the mesh terms and those strings, look at the databases from which you are going to extract the information, or it was just a traditional review where you were going to visit the websites of the specific countries and departments or ministries. So I think that needs much more clarity as to does really the PRISMA approach applies here, or that's just a traditional review. The document analysis. How did you do the document analysis? What software did you use? Because it's quite a thought-provoking and very relevant science policy transcending that space, which I think would really need to then look at those, some of them voluminous documents, which you need to look at using some softwares and Vivo, Atlas TI, and so forth. So, and be very specific at the indicators of when you say comprehensive. What measures comprehensiveness? What makes it different from another country? When you say this one is comprehensive, this one is not, what indicators of, and what is the level of evidence that you extracted from each document for a specific country? So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
And then to the lady at the front. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. My question was on the colleagues who presented on climate change. It was, most of you speak of stakeholder engagement, and to me it seems like it's just another label that we put out there to say that there is stakeholder engagement. But I think with the video that we've just seen, that is a true representation of what stakeholder engagement is at the local level. So it's not really a question, but an observation that I wanted to ask, but thank you for that video. Also, when it comes to e-health, my question now is that if we benchmark the policy for digital health or even e-health in Africa as a whole, how do we then make provisions for the diverse cultures that we have, the different health beliefs that we also have? Because even in our communities, let's just say for Mpumalanga, you might find that a different community somewhere believes in certain practices while others believe in other ones. So how do we then make sure that these policies are able to address the diversity of the health beliefs or health practices that we have. Thank you.
Colleagues, I think I've seen that there were additional hands that came thereafter. I think can we maybe take those questions? You can maybe query the speaker of the session due to time constraints, as it were. And then we have an online question. It reads as follows. Can I have the mobile mic? Yes, sir. We have an online question, and it reads as follows. Thank you so much, Aqua. This is indeed productive. My friend who's an IT specialist in data analysis and I were discussing developing a digital database system for all patients who visited hospitals in Sierra Leone. That is, patients' details can be recorded virtually and shared between hospitals for simple diagnosis and treatment. For example, if a patient has tuberculosis and visited different hospitals within the country, his or her details can be traced very easily. We are looking for more insights to help enhance the process. I'll be glad if you, Aqua, can share something on this. And then the last one is on indigenous knowledge. Another one for on indigenous knowledge. What's the relationship between meteorology, spirituality, and meteorology? So I think to the panelists, I'll start with the e-health one because it's the one who received a lot of questions. I'll give you about 5 minutes to respond to the questions, and then we'll go to the next speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for all the questions that have been asked. And I'd like to start from the last questions that I received. So I'd like to start from Dimpo, talking about how we took, a country can take into account the various cultures that is inherent in various communities in maybe South Africa or Ghana. I mean, to start with, the most important thing is that every country should have a policy. And out of that policy, you can be able to tweak the policy to meet your specific demands. That's why when if you followed my presentation very well, you'd realize that I alluded to the fact that the WHO specifies that every country must develop their digital health policy based on the country's specific contents. So it is very context specific. But what we do is that because we want to be able to learn from the practices of South Africa, from the practices of Kenya, from the practices that are working for other countries, we need to benchmark them to be able to do the analysis. So it's every country's digital health policy is there, and it takes into account the context of that country. And to Doc's question, I think Doc really asked a lot of questions, and I'm very grateful for the inputs that you've made to my work. First of all, you asked about the methodology, and you asked whether why the methodology didn't go beyond just the geographic disparate methodology that was used, didn't explain it. Well, we decided to make it geographically disparate because we didn't want to choose the digital health policies from one particular region. And to be very clear, my research was not intended on analyzing the effects of geographic disparity. But as you have advised, I think it is one thing that I would have to take on. And this is actually the first research question of my PhD. So I was actually very limited with time and with resources. So I couldn't have analyzed more than 3 African countries. And even with these 3 African countries, I had to add 2 other countries outside of Africa to be able to give it a very good context. So it was quite elaborate and quite tedious working on it. And you also asked if the Prisma was necessary with regards to this work. I think the most important thing is that it's a scientific research. I cannot just state that I went online and took these documents, because what you'd find out is that some of the country's documents are not actually approved by the. There are so many things that you find on the internet. So what the Prisma helped us to do was to make sure that for the study that we are undertaking, because it would go for publication and they are likely to ask a lot of questions. What rigor was used to be able to select this document? So PRISMA was actually applied to be able to give us an inclusion and exclusion criteria. So just one example, when you come to probably Kenya, Kenya had a previous digital health policy that is now outdated. Okay, so someone can take that policy and also analyze it, but it might not meet the times that we are in. So we had to define what should be included in the study and what not should be included in the study. That's how come we ended up using the PRISMA. And you also asked another question. I think the last one I might have missed it, but that was what informed our decision to really use the PRISMA. So I hope. Okay. And there was a question on framework and the mitigation. I think with regards to, if I say mitigation, risk mitigation, what I did was a document analysis. So what it means is that you have to read through all the documents. I think that brings me back to Doc's documents, that how was the document analysis conducted? I chose that to content analysis because with regards to content analysis, you know that content analysis usually quantifies words and try to develop themes from from the words that you have. But with a document analysis, you first need a comprehensive understanding of the document, because it is argued that that particular document already has underlining themes. So I first had to identify the underlining themes in each of the documents that were being analyzed. And I used the WHO and ITU framework because it gives specific guidelines as to how these digital health policies should be developed. So it was quite easy taking those guidelines to be able to benchmark them against the countries that are being developed. So the document analysis was done. We identified the themes by reading the documents that were involved, and we benchmarked them against the WHO and the ITU guidelines. And just 1 minute. So with regards to the prof's question of me saying at one point there is no M&E at another point, and what I actually said was that the monitoring and evaluation mechanism wasn't comprehensive enough as compared to other countries, because if you take the Kenyan document, they really specify into specific details how monitoring and evaluation has to be done. But when you take the South African document, it is just a one-pager that gives not specific instructions as to how the agencies in South Africa should go about the monitoring and evaluation of their e-health initiatives. And with regards to the policy framework and the mitigation again, just as in the case of the monitoring and evaluation, when I talk about it not being enough, I am saying that as compared to the other countries, they had more robust risk mitigation measures. It is not just enough to mention what should be done, but it is good to leverage on what other countries are doing. If you take the Ghana document, for example, it specifies into details what ought to be done at what point in time. And I think that is a good reference point for other African countries if they seek to benchmark on the policies of other countries. Thank you.
Prof, can you hear me? So, Prof, back to your question in terms of like, what do I understand in terms of the just transition? So, looking at the aspects of social equity, as well as workers' protection, environmental stability, while inviting a more healthy society by reducing carbon emission, the health society, as well as looking in terms of the diversification of energy resources, not only looking in terms of coal as a main option, as well as indirectly creating new avenues of employment. So I believe by the adoption of renewables can pave the way for a just approach.
Thank you for the question, Prof. Actually, yes, we had a list of keywords, although I don't remember them all, but some included the pollution, ocean, health, agriculture, and sustainability. Yeah. And what I also, in conclusion, what I would also want to advise the applicant is that, you know, a little mistakes count against your application. So avoid submitting your or completing your application closer to the deadline. Have time to circulate your application around so that experts can look at it to identify your weakness so they can correct you in time, and also you have time to complete your application. But I don't sit in the funding panel, I'm just giving you advice. I had it passing. Thank you.
Thank you so much to the panelists, and also thank you so much for the presentation. You may take your seat. And once again, I'd like to thank you so much, colleagues, for affording me your ears, and also for also accepting me as a not chair. Hey, that's a heavy title, but as a coordinator of this session. I'd like to hand over to you, Doc. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Colleagues, I think according to the program, we were supposed to be going for tea break, but we do have a very short aspect that we want to address that emanated from yesterday session on the AYGS alumni. So without wasting time, I will humbly request Dr. Gumede to come and address us.
Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. How are you today? All right. We will try and be very fast. Yesterday we had very great stories about the importance of having an alumni. So without any further ado, I would like to call upon Dr. Ntite to come to talk about what we'd like to do in the next few minutes. Just bear with us, colleagues. This is a very important exercise that we need to undertake. We cannot just, we wouldn't have actually done justice if we do not include this part in this exercise. So, Dr. Ntite, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gumede. Good morning. Where are the others? What happened last night? Huh? We had fun, and we also had an opportunity from learning from each other. There was a great wealth of knowledge that was shared yesterday. As Dr. Gumede had said, today we need to launch the alumni chapter of the AYGS Conference, and as we had agreed last night, you remember. So from this session today, we will be trying to nominate or get volunteers for people who will be participating as committee members, but on interim basis of this chapter. And they will then drive the alumni chapter forward. Yeah? But before we do that, we need to introduce ourselves. Not too long, tell us who you are. So there will be a roving mics, please. Tell us who you are, where you are from, what is your research area. Mainly participants, ne? Yeah, participants, students, scholars, graduates who are participating in the program, not facilitators, not management, you know, just participants. Tell us who you are. And from there on, we're gonna have volunteers for secretary, we're gonna have volunteers for a coordinator, and we're gonna have volunteers for 2 additional members. So if there aren't volunteers, then we're going to vote. Remember we said it's about time that we launch this. So it hasn't been launched. So we need to officially launch it today. So can I please have the mics? We can start from my side here. The beautiful lady from UJ, I believe.
Okay, good morning. Should I stand up? Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Dimpo Moranu. I'm at the University of Johannesburg. My research area is in strategic communication, but with a specific focus in health communications. I look at digital communications, perceptions from community members with regards to health and how they perceive health initiatives that are being provided to them. What else? That's all. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shabalala Fortunate. I'm from the University of Mpumalanga. I am an MSc candidate. My research focus is mostly on resilient adaptation and sustainable development. My main focus are mostly focusing on smallholder farmers, where I'm looking about the areas where they're facing challenges. And my research was currently focusing on the smallholder poultry farmers as to how they were affected with regards to the rolling blackout and extreme weather conditions. And that's it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Unonkazi Magwaza. I'm from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I am a PhD candidate in the Department of Community and Development Studies. My research interests are in retail development, mostly in rural areas, but also in township areas. So what I look at is land development in rural areas, community inclusion, as well as, and specifically with community inclusion, talking about businesses at a local level, as well as your agriculture somewhere there, and how it is included in retail development. Thank you.
We can have the mic coming this side, participants.
Hi everyone, my name is Vincent Kundimana. I'm not from university, I'm from Science Fact Foundation. We're based in Nairobi, Kenya, and basically we do promote science and innovation on the continent. So, but my research interest is really in international development. So I'm working on the peace and security on the continent. Yep, that's it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mr. Simon Matuani. I'm from the University of the Free State. I'm the full-time PhD candidate in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, and I'm also a part-time lecturer there. So my research interests are in food systems, land use planning, housing studies, and urban informality. Yeah, I'm also a practicing town planner. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Mpumelelo Rukoto, a microbiologist specializing in infectious disease and antimicrobial resistance. A postdoc fellow at the University of Venda, and my work focuses on drug-resistant tuberculosis, AMR, and zoonotic transmission of diseases. So my commitment is advancing global health. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Nhlanhla Hlongwa. I'm based in the University of Cape Town. My background is in analytical chemistry, and my research focus is on water quality, security, as well as health, whereby I investigate the prevalence and removal of emerging contaminants in different source water.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Thapelo Mofokeng, and I'm a postdoctoral fellow from the University of the Witwatersrand. And my work is based on renewable energy and energy storage, where we look at innovative ways on making new battery, mineral beneficiation, and so on. On the other hand, I'm also a postdoctoral fellow from the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, and I work at Hydrogen and Energy Chief Directorate, looking at the same things like energy storage, hydrogen, and renewable energy. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Pilela Majogweni. I work as a chief researcher in the HSRC in the Center for Science, Technology, and Innovation Indicators. I often just say that I'm passionate about all things Africa, but specifically my research interests are with gender inclusivity, sustainable agriculture, and evidence-based policymaking. Thank you.
I'm Dr. C.M. Duma from UniZulu. I am dealing with the role played by peacemaking hegemonies in the countries under Southern Africa prior 1994. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Moshe Makoka. I'm from UJ, Center for Africa-China Studies. By placement, I'm placed at the DTI. My research area, it has to do with Africa regional integration, looking at Africa free trade area and investment. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lebogang Khoza. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Pretoria. My study focuses on understanding of mental well-being from an African perspective. I also work as a researcher in the HSRC. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Enoch Mwakalila from Mzumbe University. I work there as a lecturer, research and consultant. I'm an economist focusing on climate change, macroeconomics, and econometrics. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Selela Mwakalila. I'm from the University of Dar es Salaam, assistant lecturer in Tanzania, but also I'm a PhD candidate under CEDA scholarship, a sandwich program working between my university and the University of Sweden. And my research area are in the, as far as my PhD is concerned, on the gender inclusion, entrepreneurial training, as well as agribusiness. But on this conference presentation is all about helping smallholder farmers to adapt and thrive by using climate-smart agroecological innovation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Jacqueline Patrick Majuva. I'm a recent graduate of Collaborative Masters of Agriculture and Applied Economics, a program that is organized by Sokoine University and the University of Pretoria. My research area is around behavioral and experimental studies, value chain analysis, and policy analysis and econometric studies.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Moloko Matipam Tagani. I am an information science but also a policy fellow at the NRF, working with the Strategic Investments, Innovation and Impact Department. My background is in microbiology, but currently focusing on policy that guides the improvement and the enhancement of research in HDI, specifically focusing on how we can improve the number of SACHI chairs in the different institutions. Thank you.
Good day. My name is Maimara Glenn from the University of Venda, Department of Indigenous Knowledge Systems and Heritage Studies. My research interest and focus is on the indigenous knowledge and community engagement. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Nedombero Nirudzani from the University of Venda as well, and my research interests are on food security within the grassroots level and the governance of common pool resources like water within irrigation schemes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sheila Shono. I'm a PhD candidate in the program run by PASGA and the University of Nairobi, doctorate in public policy. My area of research is food security and the public-private partnerships. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Posisiwe Nyawo, an NSP fellow at the University of Mpumalanga. My research focus area, SMM is development and local economic development. Thank you.
Good morning. My name once again is Akwesi Akwa. I'm from Ghana, but I find myself studying at the University of Johannesburg, where I'm doing a PhD in public management and governance. And my study focus and research interest is on the evaluation of digital health policies across Africa. And as a policy person, we try to do it in a very comprehensive way by looking at all aspects of policy planning, policy implementation, and monitoring and evaluation. So basically, that's my research interest. Thank you.
Good morning, Sirs and Mas. My name is Babatunde Moses Alao. I'm from University of Ibadan, Nigeria. I'm actually a doctoral student under PASGA sponsorship. So my study area is in artificial intelligence, tools adoption, and regulatory system in public universities, in university system in Nigeria. So actually I'm focusing on public universities in Southwest Nigeria. And I'm working towards identify what problems is in the public universities are facing in adoption and regulating artificial intelligence tools for effective teaching and learning. Then being able to come up with a policy framework that will make sure this is effectively used. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. I am Dr. De La Sorci. I'm a philosopher specializing in ethics and political philosophy. As a lecturer and researcher in applied ethics, I focus on areas such as business ethics, public policy ethics, and governance. I also work as an ethics consultant and have authored several publications on African issues and contemporary ethical challenges. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Dr. Nubonga Makanya. I'm a doctoral researcher based at the University of Johannesburg. My research background is renewable energy storages with material sciences. Previously, we managed to develop these materials using plastic bottles. We managed to turn them into these materials that can store and purify gases. But mainly the applications were for carbon capture, storage, and CH4, and also we extended to heat storage applications. So currently I'm working on biogas purification. We are at the stage where we trying to build a reactor sort of for our biogas applications. And on the other side, I'm involved with the National Research Foundation within the policy postdoc fellowship program, where we're trying to bridge the gap between the policy and the academia. Since the program, they announced that it's continuing. I'm also going to be involved with the Future Earth organizations. I've just got introduced recently, so I'm trying to learn what are they on about, and yeah. Also, from the introduction, I'm going to be working mostly with climate change initiatives, mostly with the 10 insights. Thank you. That's all for now.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Dr. Kelechi Wambayokwe, and I'm based at University of Western Cape. I'm a postdoctoral fellow there, and my research work is based on materials for solar energy applications. And in crafting my research, I've always tried to leverage some of the materials or elements available in South Africa, most especially incorporating palladium in my synthesis processes. I'm also involved with the NRF policy postdoc, and I'm based at the Department of Science and Technology and Innovation in the Emerging Technology Directorate, where we are looking at new technologies that we can incorporate into the research field of South Africa. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are we done? Good morning. My name is Nokumuloto, a senior lecturer. My name is Nokumuloto, a senior lecturer at the University of South Africa. I used to be a postdoc at the National Research Foundation. My research interests are climate change, women in leadership, technology, and small and medium enterprises development. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Abella Akonde from Precious Cornerstone University, Ibadan, Nigeria. My research, I'm a lecturer at the Department of Economics, and my research area cut across energy economics, energy modeling, as well as development economics. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tali Chambanenge, a girl from Zambia. I'm a student, second-year master's student studying agriculture economics. I'm also a member of Zambia Women in Agriculture Development back home, and I've been working as a research assistant for InfoQuest Consult Limited there. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Vuyelwa Makakula. I'm an academic talent stewardship fellow here at the University of Mpumalanga and an associate lecturer within the School of Development Studies. My current research focus is on the just energy transition, where I am looking towards building a framework for gender equitable climate adaptation.
Good morning. I'm Jafet Ondiek, postgraduate PhD student under courtesy of PASGAR program at the University of Nairobi. I'm also a digital transformation and artificial intelligence fellow at the OEC Institute based in Addis Ababa. So my original background is computer science, software engineering, so I made a deliberate decision to get out of the computer labs to enter into the social science studies, courtesy of PASGAR program, Master of Research and Public Policy, and currently the PhD in Public Policy at the University of Nairobi. So don't ask me why I made a deliberate shift from computer science to social policy. I have an answer for that. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stella Nansamba. I'm from Uganda. I'm a Commonwealth scholar at the Open University of the United Kingdom. A master's student. My current research is on the impact of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement on food sovereignty in Eastern Uganda. Though my background is in economics, development economics, but for this particular event, my research will be on feminist climate justice, gender responsive strategies to a just transition in the Global South. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introductions, colleagues. I heard a lot of policy, energy, food security, climate, technology, ethics and governance, psychology, and a lot more. I hope you were taking notes as other colleagues were introducing themselves so that you can continue with the networking and the collaboration. So as I had mentioned earlier, so we're gonna ask for volunteers for the position of a secretary. We already have a chairperson, which is Dr. Greg, who will be facilitating the formalization of the alumni chapter further. So we need anybody who can volunteer for secretary position, volunteers? Or we nominate, because we know what you do where you are. Can we kindly get a volunteer and let us be gender balanced? Thank you. We've got a volunteer. Please come to the front. And also Dr. Greg, also please come to the front. We're gonna call for the second volunteer, somebody who can coordinate coordination and communication, a coordinator. Where? There. Please come to the front. Thank you. And from the executive order I got this morning, so we're gonna need 2 additional members. Yeah? And their roles and their tasks will be clarified, but it has to do with the structures within the alumni chapter. Can we get the first volunteer? Say, please. I think it's for the second time you're raising your hand. And a third volunteer. Which hand? There are just too many hands. Oh, she's here. Please have a seat. Dr. Greg, as the chairperson of the chapter, can I hand over to you just to briefly narrate as to what is expected, and then going forward, how are we going to formalize this? I'm handing over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I think it's called African Young Graduates. So can I ask all of us to rise up, if you don't mind me? So when I say Atama, you clap once, okay? Atama. Atama. So if I say Labako, you clap 4 times. Labako. Labako. So if I say Labarina, you clap 10 times. Labarina. So we'll do it together. Atama. Labako. Labarina. Thank you very much. We can have our seat. Now you can see, like, we are very smart because I just taught you something you didn't know. So that's the energy. Thanks for the opportunity. to serve as the chair of this illustrious platform. I think the onus is upon everybody here. This is not these people's committee. The idea is what we've discussed yesterday. I don't need to go back into that. But what we look forward to doing is creating a platform where all of us can harness any opportunity that's available in your areas. Wherever you're coming from, whatever countries you're coming from, imagine something that has been around for since 2005. So we have wealth of connection and network. So we're bringing everybody together, but it's easier to start with this group. So once we quickly meet, there will be a website that will be communicated across to you. Of course, because we are living in a very careful world, we will need to ask for your consent. So a survey will be sent to you where you fill your details, even though we have it, but we need to have your consent to be able to carry this along. And then hopefully you guys already have a WhatsApp group, because by second day during my set, we already had a WhatsApp group. So we can have a group like that with you guys, and then we'll start introducing other peoples. And then we'll keep you in touch. I think we have a lot of ideas by the time we all brainstorm together. The first session would obviously be online, where I'll be expecting at least 80% of everybody in this room to attend, and then we can expand from there. I believe in the philosophy of you start breaking a mountain from the lower part. So we'll start with this group, and I look forward to us expanding. Like I said, it's not my idea, it's not these people's idea, we're working on it together. And I have a philosophy. By this time next year, we should be able to look back. Maybe you kick me out if I'm not doing a good job, and then we'll try from there. So I'm giving myself a 1-year mandate with HSRC. Hopefully, we'll get somebody that is the liaison officer with the AYGS, and then we'll take it from there. But I'm very available, and I trust this team to be also very available. And we'll all be doing this online, and we look forward to making something that even African president will be looking at AYGS and say, we're looking for the best of the best brain in Africa. We need to go to the database of AYGS alumni. So that's actually my dream. So I look forward to you working with me. Thank you.
Can we give a round of applause again for the launch of the AYGS alumni? Thank you. So this is how we wrap up this session. We're going to ask the people who have volunteered and who will be leading this to remain behind, the members, so that we take a photo and then we exchange contacts, and then we can go for tea for now, and we come back again and continue the conference. Thank you very much.